And so now, I just spent the last discussion that we had talking actually about this public punishments, and you know, again, I kind of want to say something. I was talking to them about being kind of like Saudi Arabia or the Taliban. Um, I think it's always good to be careful as historians to try to draw too much of parallels, because obviously there are a lot of differences. But I think that what I was talking about in terms of the things that now horrify people in the West, about women being forced into subjugation, and not allowing religious diversity, and again, public executions and so forth. Many of those things that horrify Western audiences were in fact what we did as a founding nation in terms of our earlier colonial life. And according to my own family, apparently, my own family uh, members may have been a part of this, involved in these traditions. Um, and of course, I just wanted to kind of point that out and move on to some other aspects, which is public events, other than public executions. Um, they had Guy Fawkes Day or Pope Day. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit clip at the end from V for Vendetta. If you watched that movie V for Vendetta or read the comic series, um, remember the 5th of November is the plot of Guy Fawkes Day is woven into the story plot for V for Vendetta, the film. Um, and he was a part of a movement that wanted to create a Catholic theocracy in England, with the religious battles taking place. So just as we see Shiites and Sunni Muslims fighting each other in Iraq right now, just as we see in Northern Ireland still the conflict between Protestants and Catholics there, the Guy Fawkes Day is rooted in a theme of Protestants versus Catholic. And I have to keep emphasizing this because this will also pop up later. A continuous theme of anti-Catholicism that comes out of the U.S. tradition. Real quick, I just wanted you to keep in mind, the big deal about Obama, which it was in terms of, our history of race relations, regardless of whether you like him or not as a president, having a non-white president, he was the first, period, right? Okay, so that was historically significant, just the act of Obama being elected as president, just that itself, right? Well, JFK, Kennedy, he was also a historical president, a change, and that he was Roman Catholic. And that was actually a big deal in his election. This question, could a Roman Catholic become president in the United States? And would his loyalty be to the Pope more than the United States? These were some of the things that were considered an issue for some voters. Okay, and we saw with Romney, the issue of, we haven't had a Mormon yet, so it could happen. If Bernie Sanders actually was elected, he'd be the first Jewish man to be president. But in any case, going back to the topic of Catholicism and Protestant Christianity. So, Guy Fawkes Day was a day where Guy Fawkes tries to blow up government buildings and get King James killed. The plot is foiled, and so this is a day to celebrate King James not getting assassinated and the terrorist plot being thwarted. Okay, but it was also really used as a day to celebrate Protestantism and really become anti-Catholic, and often it could lead into mob violence, even back in the British Isles. And so this day was really, you could actually call it anti-Catholic Day in many ways. Okay, and so that's all I wanted to point out on that for now. And we're going to see again later how this anti-Catholicism pops up. So then we had militia parades. Remember, there wasn't a standing army per se, but we had militias, and militias are brought up in the Constitution. We don't have them now. We have the National Guard, and that's another topic for another time, where we had state-controlled militias, okay? All men between 16 and 60, and they met 6 to 8 times a year, and it could be very festive, okay? Time as well. Celebrate, put on your garb, and look hardcore, right? Then I wanted to point out, going into the Anti-Catholicism, banned holidays. This is one that might shock a lot of you. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses, for example, are traditionally a Protestant. Well, they don't think of themselves necessarily, or people don't think of Jehovah's Witnesses being of a Protestant base, but they do come out of Protestant Christianity. But they hold a lot of beliefs that are not mainstream in Christianity. And one of the things that their religion evolved, it didn't start off that way, but it evolved into basically rejecting almost all holidays. And so I have many family members that are Jehovah's Witness. They do not come to Christmas events, birthdays, and in schools they don't participate in any of those things. That's seen as a very odd thing to a lot of people. And there has been a little bit of a trend in evangelical circles to resist the commercialization of Christmas, or you'll see slogans, Jesus is the reason for the season, right? Trying to take away some of those other things. But Easter, All Saints' Day, St. Valentine's Day, Christmas was hated by the Puritans, and it was actually made illegal. Okay, all right. And there was a law in 1659 that made a fine of 5 shillings to punish anyone who celebrated Christmas. Okay. Now, you might ask why. These are very devout Christians, and they are actually doing this. And here's a public notice. This is from the time period of basically saying that this is satanical practices are thereby forbidden. Okay. What's going on? Well, in Catholicism, and this is without trying to participate in this religious debate. Let me just say that I have a great uncle who was a Catholic priest, and he was actually friends with Cesar Chavez, or did activism with him. Then on my mom's side, I have all these very Protestant clergy members, mainly from the Baptist tradition. So I grew up really very familiar with these debates between Catholic and Protestant. Now, the Catholic Church integrated a lot of practices that are not directly, that you could not pinpoint in the Bible per se, okay? And for Catholicism, the Church is as holy as the Bible. That God made, the concept is within Catholicism that there is the Bible, and then there is the Church, and there's not a contradiction between the two. You wouldn't say that the Church is giving man-made laws. The Church is inspired of God, okay? But for Protestant Christianity, especially evangelical types or the Puritans, where they simply said the Bible is the source, and if they see something that's not there, they want to reject it and see it as a corruption of religion. And so Christmas having many, this is a fact, Easter and Christmas have a lot of pagan practices, especially in their European form. Christmas can be very drunken, brawling type of holiday that was linked to like winter solstices that were practiced by Germanic people in long before Christianity. And it's almost like a Mardi Gras type thing. And Catholics really enjoyed taking on these holidays and embraced all these things and did not feel as uncomfortable. But for Protestants, especially the Puritans, as I mentioned, these were all corrupted things, bringing in religious practices that in their mind were supposed to be, shoved away, part of satanic ideas, okay? And so that's really the root of this kind of, charge against many holidays that all traditions of Christianity believe to be legit, even if they want to reject certain parts. So now many evangelicals, they'll get rid of Santa, they'll get rid of Rudolph and the elves, but they'll keep Jesus. But they just wanted that holiday out. Okay. And so, as late as the middle of the 19th century, New England children did not have a free day off of school on December 25. Okay, so just think about that for a second. Okay, as late as the middle of the 19th century. Okay, so yeah. Okay, alcohol. They felt in the Bible there's a scripture that says little wine is good for the stomach or something like that. I'm trying to remember the exact verse. It was written by Paul. And there's discussions of alcohol, and there's the Passover. Moderate, for them, moderate was good. Drunkenness was evil. That's always a tricky thing, right? That's like saying you can make out with somebody, but you can't have sexual contact. Well, at what point is that's complicated, right? Because some people can drink one and they're drunk. Or at what point are you in drunk zone out of not? And I think that would be a very difficult one to try to monitor. But in any case, they thought it was okay a little bit. Even children consumed. It was thought to ward off certain diseases, that it had certain medical properties. The Mayflower was actually packed full of beer. And taverns were common, except, again, they outlawed drunkenness. And customers were not allowed to stay over half an hour. Okay? So it's like you basically, take a shot, take a swig, and you got to go. If you're sitting around here long drinking, it's not happening. So again, that must have been strange. And one of the things the book talked about is that basically that's probably one of those difficult things to control, that over time, I mean, you're just going to have people who stay just a little too long or drink a little too much or kind of pay underneath the table. Hey, man, can you give me another beer? Just don't tell anybody. I don't know. You could probably see that was a very desperate attempt that didn't work too well, I'm assuming. So that's all I have to have on this section. I just wanted to show you this Guy Fawkes Day opening from V for Vendetta, just so you can get and see how U.S. history and some things that get integrated into popular culture can come together here. So.
Remember the 5th of November, the Gunpowder Treason and plot. I know of no reason why the Gunpowder Treason should ever be forgot. But what of the man? I know his name was Guy Fawkes, and I know in 1605 he attempted to blow up the Houses of Parliament. But who was he really? What was he like? Not the man, because a man can fail. He can be caught, he can be killed and forgotten. But 400 years later, an idea can still change the world. I've witnessed firsthand the power of ideas. I've seen people kill in the name of them, and die defending them. But you cannot kiss an idea. Cannot touch it or hold it. Ideas do not bleed. They do not feel pain. They do not love. And it is not an idea that I miss. It is a man. A man that made me remember the 5th of November. A man that I will never forget.
So here was the beginning of the opening scene of V for Vendetta, but turning the whole story into him being a hero. So here, this was a story of him, this comes from the movie of actually Guy Fawkes being a hero. But next time now, maybe if you watch that film, you'll actually really follow the historical references that they're making. Anyways, I'll just end there. And, if you have any questions, of course, or want further information, please always feel free to contact me.